Hi, everybody. Pastor Ken here. Welcome to the Faithbridge family gathering. This evening, I have Duffy Robbins, a longtime friend of Faithbridge, on the line. I just figured it would be fun and timely to talk with someone who's a veteran of parenting, of grandparenting, of youth ministry. You've been teaching, Duffy, 35 years at the college level at Eastern College and Grove City College, now in Grove City, Pennsylvania. And so welcome back to Faithbridge, Duffy.
Yeah, no, what a privilege to be a part of the family time. It's awesome. All of us, I'm speaking to you 30 feet underground in a bunker underneath our home. Now, actually, I'm at my home office here, and I have really, really enjoyed going into the living rooms and dens of Faith Bridgers for Sunday worship and watching LA and Liz, and you and TA and Hannah on Monday, Thursday bring the word, and it's just been, and Steve also a couple weeks ago. It's a treat, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. Good to see everybody.
Well, thank you. So I would assume, you being on the campus with college kids, you probably, like Texas schools, had to send your students home several weeks ago?
Yep, we actually had spring break. Everybody was happy about that, but it seemed it was right during spring break that it just you kind of got this sense that things are going to change, and they might change dramatically. It was a reality none of us could imagine. I couldn't believe. One of my colleagues who teaches Christian ministry with me said, "Well, I wonder if they're even going to come back from spring break." We did, but only for about a week. But over time, Governor Wolf basically said that, in Pennsylvania, it's a lockdown, and we had to eventually close the campus. And so now all of our campuses are online, which is a remarkable, not to say wonderful, but a remarkable experience. One thing that's really convinced me is the future of residential education. There's a lot of unanswered questions, but I really feel like Grove City has handled it well. Our students have handled it well. Our faculty, some of them have never used, probably any media since overhead projection. I mean, most of them are pretty savvy. A lot of them are very savvy, but some of them, this is just, they're not, that's just, I mean, that's probably true for every school. And they're having to kind of learn, how do I translate all of this stuff into online learning? And it's tricky. It's tricky.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. You're speaking into the lives of young people, college kids, students. You've had a walk with the Lord for years and years. What, coaching are you giving to them? Would you give to us? How do you maintain your walk with Christ when all that was normal goes out the window, but he's still on the throne, and we want to keep pressing towards him? Any thoughts about just our spiritual devotional life and so?
Oh yeah. I've had a bunch of those conversations, beginning with me and Maggie, and talking to students and youth pastors. Just did a Facebook chat room yesterday with a bunch of youth pastors and talking about that. And a couple of things. First thing I said to my guys is, I said, guys, how, like, when you have an every all of us, or at least I know I do, on occasion, I don't like it, but I'll have an all-nighter where I go, you know what? This has got to get done by tomorrow. And you don't like it, but you're going to stay up all night. You're going to have to work on this thing and grind it out. And every college student, everybody's ever been to college, knows what those are like: cups of coffee, whatever. And I said, I think at first a lot of people approached, and maybe me too, sort of approached this as if it were an all-nighter. Like, okay, it's one night, just keep your head down, keep your mouth shut, keep moving. And it's not the way you want to live, but it's only for a night. You wake up tomorrow and the sun's going to be out, and you're going to move on. And what I've encouraged them to recognize is this is not an all-nighter phenomenon. This could be a few monther. In other words, what I really learned myself, and what I've encouraged my guys and my students is that, hey guys, we have got to approach this with sustainable life. That it's not like I'm just going to keep my head down, keep my mouth shut, and keep moving, because you can only do that for so long, and we don't know how long this is going to last. All of us are hoping sooner than later, but none of us really knows. And so, right off the bat, I really encourage my guys to approach it more for the long game, and have tried myself to approach it that way. One of the and I would say, that's true whether you're a college student, or whether you're a parent, or whether you're a grandparent, or you're a single person, that this is not a situation where you go, I am going to just grind it out for like a few days, because that pattern, that paradigm is not going to sustain us for the length of time I think we may need to be sustained. Part of that, as a parent, I think, and just as an individual, for me, that really necessitates the importance of a rhythm, a daily rhythm in life. We were talking to a person the other day, and they said that it was actually a neighbor who said that, she gets up she goes to bed every morning at 4:30. She watches Netflix all night, goes to bed about 4:30, gets up around 11, and I hope sincerely she's not watching this broadcast, but and you can do that. I mean, that's kind of all-nighter type of living, where you go, well, these are odd times, but how can you sustain a family that way? I remember, the closest that Maggie and I have come to kind of a quarantine, and it's not even remotely close, but the closest we've come to where you're confined with your family to a small place is in the early days when I was a youth pastor and I was just starting out speaking. But I would literally, speak at stuff all summer, and we'd leave the day school was out, and we'd come back the day before school started in our car, and we didn't even do very many at that point. We didn't do very many fly dates because I had to fly the whole family, and so a lot of weeks we would spend 5 days in a cabin, and some of these camps were dumps. You get in there. We'd spend the first day just as a family using Lysol to just try to clean up the place. Sinks that have been stopped up. I mean, it was not every place was like this, but I'm just saying there were places like that. And I think our family looks back on it as a time of great adventure and a lot of laughter. But part of it was because Maggie was really good at helping the girls maintain a rhythm to the day. In other words, I think if you look at a day where you're going to be in a cabin and it's raining and it's cold, and we're going to be in here all day, and the only time we're going to leave is when we go to the dining hall and eat or something like that. Maybe, we'll go out after I speak and we'll go to Dairy Queen, but I mean, can't even do that now. But rather than look at it as a whole day, Maggie was really smart as a mom in sort of breaking the day up into segments. And so you weren't looking at how am I going to make it for 18 hours or 12 hours until everybody goes to bed again. You're going, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to have snack time. The girls are going to do we used, those study books, workbooks. They did workbooks every day. And then you had lunch. And then after lunch, we would usually do an audio book. And it was kind of a quiet time to listen to an audio book. And then maybe nap time. But there were segments to the day so that you weren't sort of looking at this amorphous time frame. You go, how the heck am I gonna survive 12, 16 hours? So I think the rhythm is really important. So for me, and maybe a lot of us are just learning we have to get up, like we normally get up, spend time with the Lord. I try to do my work as best I can, and work a full day, work out like I normally would at the end of the day, and just try to maintain that rhythm. Having said that, let me add one other comment here, and that is,
it's good stuff.
I remember when our girls were really little, and every parent, especially moms, will probably understand this or sympathize with this. But I remember Maggie felt really bad because she didn't have much time with the Lord. She, when she was up, there was usually somebody, crying and complaining, and then sometimes sometimes the kids got involved too. It was bad, and I think I remember we talked to David Siemens, who was our pastor then at United Methodist Church in Wilmore, and he said something that I thought was really wise. He said, Maggie, because she felt like I'm really letting the Lord down. The Lord kind of, sort of that idea that here's God waiting for me, and oh, okay, great, Maggie's not here today. And he said, you got to remember that God has a special dispensation for moms, that you have to learn to refuel in flight, and that God knows this. And that this is a different, yes, you want to maintain a rhythm, but it's not the same rhythm in wartime that it is in peacetime.
Oh, that's good.
And everybody understands that. And certainly our Father in heaven understands this. And so I think part of it is not prosecuting. I mean, I remember from me, we had our little girls, Erin, the older of the two, she didn't want to miss anything. And so as soon as I got up, no matter how, and every parent knows, like, you're creeping, basically doing a jungle crawl down the stairs, so you don't want to breach the possibility of another few minutes of sleep for mom or for your kids. And I'd go down there and try to have my quiet time, and Erin would hear me. And I remember one morning, this was when we were living in Wilmore. I was a youth pastor at the church there. And Erin wanted to come up, crawled in my lap. When she crawled in my lap, she literally stepped on my testicles. And that, not surprisingly, caused a little bit of a lurch. And that made me spill my hot tea in my lap. And I just remember thinking to myself, John Wesley must have never had babies. I mean, I read these great, deep, thoughtful, pensive writers, and I go, I don't see, the word testicle. I mean, I just go, where? but I have to remember that the Lord understands. I think part of it is having a sense of humor, isn't it? Part of it is going, I've got to keep this perspective that God understands and is patient with me and all this stuff.
Well, that is all good stuff and speaks a pastoral word to my soul, and I know Suzanne's soul, and to countless parents and grandparents and young people. That's good wisdom, Duffy. I'll pay you a compliment as we come to an end. And I was just sitting there thinking, I know why college students have loved you for decades, even as we're listening to you right now. Last summer, we were at a camp in Colorado, the YMCA of the Rockies, right, where we spend time, and the boys go over and they integrate into to the day camping program for several weeks every year. And I think it was the second day I was dropping them off, signing them in, and a young man who was a counselor, one of the head counselors, he walked up and he said, Faithbridge. And I said, yes. And he said, I recognized your voice, and I know that my favorite professor in all of college is on your preaching team, Duffy Robbins. I knew who he was going to say. I said, Duffy, and he said, that's exactly right. And so you've been having an impact on college students for
That's great to hear.
And on plenty of other people and other places where you've been teaching and preaching for years, including here. Hey, great wisdom this evening. Thank you so much for taking the time just to speak into our living rooms, into our hearts, just kind of where we are. You all up in Pennsylvania, stay safe.
Hey, thanks, Ken. And you guys are doing, just the team there is doing such a great job. And I love seeing the way Faithbridge are stepping up and serving and joining in. And it's a real privilege to be a part of this family. So thanks for letting me be with you guys tonight.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. And thank you, everybody, for watching this evening. Have a great rest of the evening.